where comic dispenses. We crack up all the senses.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by NatureBox. Get 3 free snacks with your first order. Just visit naturebox.com/SinCast and use code SINS. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yellow!
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Howdy, everyone.
The 1 million subscriber Music Video Sins.
Oh, yeah, hey.
Oh, we got to tweet out a picture of that gold record.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
The people at our management company, to celebrate Music Video Sins passing 1 million subscribers, got us a gold record plaque. It's an actual gold record.
Yeah.
They told us it's the same place that actually makes gold records for real artists when they, have earned them.
Yeah.
And it's got the Music Video Sins logo in the center, and it's all framed up. And I love it. As soon as I saw it, I
pretty
was tickled.
freaking sweet.
But yeah, Barrett, good job on that 1 million subscriers over there on Music Video
good job
Sins.
by everybody.
Yeah. Today we're going to get right into the SinCast Movie Club.
You should join our club. You and your friend.
Now, if you're not going to take this seriously, perhaps we should disband the club now.
I love being a part of things.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about animated movies today.
It's time for Animaniacs. Which is, that's in my head because they just talked about bringing it back.
Was it Tiny Toons that said we're comic dispensers, we crack up all the censors?
Yeah. When you put it like that, it sounds like Christopher Walken reading Lady Gaga lyrics.
We're comic dispensers. We crack up all the senses.
Wow.
Jesus.
Anyway, we're going to talk about, our best, our favorite, our underrated, our underseen movies that you should go watch. Now, who wants to kick us off with this?
Well, I would like to say, just to clarify, I think we're going to start structuring the movie club a little more uniformly week in and week out, to where we'll have a genre or subgenre, and then we'll all have a best in that class, a favorite personal one in that class, one that we think is underseen, and one that we think is underrated.
Yeah.
So we'll all be basically making at least 4 recommendations every movie club. And I like that, too, because it gives us a chance to talk about a variety, because especially the underrated category, because we don't have to choose an A-plus movie there. We can choose something that's a B and say, people call this a D-, but it's actually pretty funny. Pretty good.
But most people are wrong.
Most people are wrong. So I personally think the best animated movie is The Incredibles. I think it's the best superhero movie. I think it's the best Pixar movie. How could I not say it's the best animated movie when we're talking about this genre? I also stole another one from you guys by listing The Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah.
One of the only movies made me bawl. Like, movies have made me tear up plenty, but that movie made me cry like I was 5 years old all over again. And they both start with I.
Yeah.
And they're both Brad Bird.
They are both Brad Bird, and I think that is not a coincidence.
Yeah, you know what? Iron Giant actually could fit under several categories in the best, favorite, underrated, so on and so forth.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know about underrated, but all the other ones, underseen for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite for sure, best for sure. It's one of those.
It didn't make a lot of money even.
No, it made almost no money. I remember it coming out. We were at Hollywood 27 at the time that it came out, and nobody saw that movie. There was occasional, mom and her kid sitting in there, maybe dispersed into this empty auditorium every time I started that movie. But the Iron Giant is just tremendous.
Don't you think Vin Diesel could just have a voiceover career at this point?
Yeah.
And be huge.
He has.
Just with that. Yeah, exactly.
But you're saying he doesn't even need to do Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, he didn't need to go in there with the arm butter.
He could be like Alan
fucking
Tudyk or somebody like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Harry Shearer.
Yeah.
Or Dan Castellaneta. I'm always thrown off whenever I see him in person.
Oh, I know.
Because I'm like, you're a voice guy. What are you doing on this show?
And you're always like trying to decipher how Homer comes out of his voice a lot of times.
Because it doesn't look like it should.
Yeah, because he's always talking like this and everything. And you're like, where's Homer and all of that?
My wife and I always quote the Iron Giant, specifically the scene where Harry Connick Jr. lets him have espresso. He's like, I can have coffee. He's like, this is like CoffeeZilla, kid. And it's like, oh, give it to me. And then like it cuts right to this hyperactive kid pacing around the room, talking about school and how they always, because I'm a shrimpy dork. And we also quote and if they just do the homework from that little rant. That whole movie's just brimming with charm. I love the classic animated look of it. You know, in addition to the era that they're going back to set this in. There's something very nostalgic about it, especially I think if you grew up when we did in the 80s with some of that old school animation still kind of being the main thing. I love this movie. Super short. If you've never seen it, you're not making that big a commitment on time. Great voice work from some people you don't usually expect, like Jennifer Aniston.
That's what I was about to get to. You have Harry Connick Jr. and Jennifer Aniston and Christopher McDonald.
He's hilarious in this movie.
It's not like a huge name cast. Even Aniston, really just known for Friends at that point. And I guess to some extent still is. Never really had that huge takeoff as a movie star, but
that's true, man. If you polled,
not for lack of trying.
No, she
tried. If you
tried.
polled 100 people and said, "What is Jennifer Aniston famous for?" It would be Friends or being
Brad
Pitt's
Pitt.
wife. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's so sad
because she's been in probably like 60, 70 movies at this point.
She's been in a lot. I don't know about that many, but she's been in a lot. Like there was a period there where it seemed like she was just in every romantic comedy, and she was like
ensemble pieces out the ass.
Yeah.
But, and I think has always been good, too. It's just she never really kind of broke out to become that movie.
Oh, and even like in a showy type of role like Horrible Bosses.
Yeah.
Where you kind of think, okay, that's her breakout comic performance. She's always just a cog in that movie's whole wheel. It's not like she's the reason you went to go see those.
No. I mean, yeah, but she's really, really good in all those. I mean, she was in we're derailing, but like she was in The Good Girl, which is such a fantastic movie.
She's great in it.
Gyllenhaal is fantastic, and then John C. Reilly's great in that. But she grounds that thing. And I never saw Cake. Did you ever see Cake? She was apparently really good in that, too. Cake?
Oh, I don't know.
It was a recent one.
I immediately went to the band.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I have like
I've
watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall so much now. I have like a Pavlovian response to the Universal logo. So if I'm on a movie channel and I see the Universal logo come up, I will hear that Cake song from the opening. That opens Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'll hear it even when it's a completely different Universal movie. It's just in my head.
Is that Love You Madly? Is that the song?
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, good call on Jennifer Aniston. 63 credits.
Oh, okay.
Good call.
You've
got Chris-like on that.
Yeah. Well, I love Jennifer Aniston so much.
Yeah. I love her so much. Yes, we have derailed.
We were on the Iron Giant.
Yeah. Not to pun Jennifer Aniston there. We derailed.
Nice. Slip that one by me.
Yeah. I actually did not mean that. It's like, how'd that happen?
Best $20.
Anyway, yes, the Iron Giant is amazing. And you're talking about how, hardly anybody saw it and everything. It was in that era of time where the computer animation had really sort of like sunk its roots down, and there was sort of a tug of war as to whether or not people were going because it's the computer animation and people would just outgrown the traditional animation and everything. I think it's silly because the best stories were going towards that computer animation.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people were going. I mean, you saw the traditional animated stuff like The Road to El Dorado and The Prince of Egypt and there were several others that tried to come out. Was it Sinbad? The Brad Pitt
Voyage of the Seven Seas.
Voyage of the Seven Seas. That one tried to come out during all that time. Treasure Planet, which I think a lot of these started getting some computer animation, but they weren't like all completely hand drawn, but they were still in that 2D sort of world. And all of them sort of flopped, and it was because they sucked. It wasn't really because
exactly.
But anyway, that was another one of those casualties of that. People didn't really. I don't think Warner Brothers really thought much of that movie when they launched it. It came out in August or something.
Yeah, I don't remember it having a lot of marketing.
And that was 1999, right?
Yeah.
So that was just a loaded year too.
It was. It's an easy year to get overlooked.
Yeah. One of the movies that I remember first like knocking me out with computer generated effects in a traditionally animated movie was Aladdin.
Oh yeah,
and seeing the big head of the cougar or jaguar or whatever the hell that thing was that came out. A non-desert animal, obviously, is what I'm talking about.
Who disturbs my slumber?
Yeah, but that was, exactly. First of all, it was terrifying to me. Because I was still a kid at that point when I saw it. But I mean, Aladdin, it's one of the best, I think, of all time. Man, if you got good music in an animated, really anything, but especially an animated movie, you got me hooked. And Aladdin has sneakily one of the best soundtracks of all time, I think.
It does. Those songs are, I probably mentioned this before, I watched Aladdin left and right my freshman year of college. A group of friends that I had, we just popped that movie in whenever we were hanging out together. And it is very singable. And I think I even mentioned this before. I used to do an Aladdin impression of one of the songs. I was pretty good at it, but haven't done it in 20 years. I'm not going to do it cold on the podcast. The other thing Aladdin has going for it that I think makes it one of the best of all time is that Robin Williams, rapid fire Disney.
It's got carte blanche.
Disney movies had never had anything like that, where it's just, he might be on screen for a 3-minute scene and he'll say 17 funny things before he's gone. And, I think they let him riff endlessly when he was doing his recording, and they, kept the best stuff, if you will, and then animated around it. Like seeing the genie bend his face into Dangerfield's face to do that Rodney Dangerfield no respect thing. It's zany and wacky and a mile a minute, and none of the other Disney movies from this era have that.
I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug.
But yeah, I used to sing all those songs. Even to this day, if somebody says something about something looks lovely, I'll say, "Don't they look lovely, June? Fabulous, Harry. Love the feathers." Super quotable, super relatable lead character.
Yeah.
It does almost everything right. I can't fault that. I think I like Beauty and the Beast a little better if we're talking about the particular era of the 90s of Disney animation, but Aladdin's just too much fun.
Yeah, to me, it's got that wild card of the better story probably is Beauty and the Beast, but that wild card of the genie is just, I don't know, that takes it up several notches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Disney had a huge renaissance during that period. Little Mermaid sort of kicked it off, and then Beauty and the Beast was next, and then Aladdin, and then Lion King sort of culminated that whole thing. You had mentioned The Incredibles earlier. The Pixar had this same kind of stretch in the mid-2000s, and that was when they had The Incredibles kicked it off, and then there was Ratatouille and WALL-E and Up. All came out, and they were all amazing. My best is going to be WALL-E, although you guys sort of picked the better ones there.
Sorry.
WALL-E, of course, sort of falls off towards the end, but it's still enjoyable, a very enjoyable movie when they go up into the ship and everything like that. But while we see WALL-E on Earth, that is some of the most magical movie stuff you're ever going to see.
It really is. I could watch like an entire episodic television series of WALL-E's Adventures on Earth, like before the movie is taking place.
Yeah, in fact, I wish that's way the movie. I mean, when you see where the movie is headed, I kind of wish that's what it was, like just him being by himself.
Yeah,
and then maybe Eve shows up, but never ever go up into space. Ever. Yeah,
I would have preferred that adventure if like Eve shows up and somehow calls for the ship to come back, and then there's still adventures they have to go through on desolate Earth or what have you. Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes of WALL-E is as strong as any 20 minutes of any film. Really, it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah,
such a lovable character that barely speaks. This is a showcase for how you can emote a character and connect them to an audience without words, and you can do it with facial expressions, and largely WALL-E's done with posture and his eyes and the way his eyes change shape and expression.
It's crazy how they can do that. It started with that lamp in that first short.
Yeah.
And then most recently I watched one of the submissions for Best Animated Shorts for last year's Oscars. And they did this little beach bird story.
Yeah.
And where this little timid bird is trying to go out to the water to pick up a sand crab and everything. Probably lasts 7-8 minutes or something like that. But you will be like riveted to this the entire time because of just little mannerisms.
When I was at Disney with my family for vacation, a lot of the channels are Disney channels. Like a shameful number of them are Disney channels. Like there's probably 20 Disney channels to flip through before you get to like ABC and all that shit. Anyway, one of them I stopped on was playing some kind of documentary interview with John Lasseter about that tin toy and that first Luxo Jr. lamp short that he made. And how they knew, even back then, once that lamp short was finished, they realized once we can anthropomorphize these inanimate objects, everything opens up story-wise. And of course, he even says Toy Story is born out of this very concept. When we did Tin Toy, we realized, hey, we can make toys that talk and move, and we can feel sorry for them and whatnot. Just fascinating what they're able to do at Pixar in terms of getting us to feel, right? They get that section in Up where he did the montage of the couple, and you've got Wall-E, and he's so expressive. It's very impressive, and I think a lot of times we take it for granted.
That's the thing you're talking about. There's no real dialogue in the beginning of it. My favorite part of Wall-E is when you see his tread start to he's starting to rumbling down the dirt roads and everything, and he's like, he looks down, and then he go searching through all this junk for the other Wallies that were in there and everything. And he looks at this little tread, and he looks at his little, cockroach friend, and he looks back. And then the next scene is him smoothly, moving along and sort of looking back at the cockroach. See, that worked. Kind of sort of a nod. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah. And all that stuff with the cockroach is great when he thinks he kills him and freaks out. And, of course, cockroaches are basically unkillable.
Yeah.
So Wall-E's fantastic. I mean, even if we hadn't chosen the ones we did, Wall-E's worth a mention in the best animated films discussion in my book.
All right, so we've talked about best. How about your favorites?
Oh, what do you think?
My favorites, obviously The Incredibles would be up there, but because I'm trying to talk about some extras, I mentioned in the last podcast how much Wreck-It Ralph wowed me when I first saw it. I was expecting nothing. I fucking love Wreck-It Ralph. Like, I went on a tweet storm for a long time where every now and then I would just tweet out Wreck-It Ralph is better than Frozen. Part of that was just because Frozen was getting obviously too much love. I think Frozen is great, but it became Citizen Kane for a while there. Wreck-It Ralph is better than Tangled, Big Hero 6, most of what Disney and Pixar have been putting out lately. So that's one of my favorites. And for an old school, I'm going to go back to the Disney Robin Hood.
Nice.
And,
wow.
The Not in Nottingham. Oh God, dude.
It is. Yeah, I remember it being really enjoyable.
I watched the shit out of that movie. That is probably how I know the Robin Hood story most, is because of that movie.
Interesting.
And later on you see like Prince of Thieves or whatever with Kevin Costner. And I'm like, he's not a fox. The fuck. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the least believable thing about that.
That's sort of why Kevin Costner's career derailed, was because he was unable to play foxes.
I know, seriously.
Legitimately.
Yeah, and it's actually, there's a book about it. I think somebody wrote it, how bad Costner is at playing foxes and how it basically damned him.
Yeah, written by Jamie Foxx.
I'm actually excited about Costner's next project. It's a series, and it's a Western, and it's the guy that wrote Hell or High Water is writing it.
Oh, man.
And that excites me greatly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are mine. The old school Robin Hood from, I think, like 81 maybe, or no, that was Fox and Hound. 79, 78. Anyway, back in that era, that's some good shit. That's my favorite. The songs are awesome and fun, and it's only like, I think 68 minutes long or some shit.
Yeah, those old Disney animated movies, they're like 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's super short.
That was 1973, by the way.
Wow, even older than I thought.
Yeah.
All right.
That's crazy.
2 years before I was born, they made a movie, and then my mom showed it to me a lot, and I loved it. And that and Wreck-It Ralph.
We're going to stay on Disney a lot because mine is The Nightmare Before Christmas, my favorite.
Oh, and see, this is one that he stole from me. Because when I saw this one on the list, I was like, damn it, I can't put that one anywhere. Because I could put that under best or favorite, or even probably underseen. Although it's developed quite a strong cult following. But when it came out, it didn't make a ton of money. And I don't think it had a big following for several years. But now you see Jack Skellington fucking everywhere.
I think it did okay, actually. It may have not have been a huge blockbuster, but I think it did okay. I don't know the top of my head, but I think it did all right, like a 50-60 million type of movie or something like that. I don't think I watched this for the longest time because my theater at the time didn't get it.
Oh, really?
And so, we were in that weird Miles rule thing where, like, if the Franklin Cinema, like, the 2-screen really wanted to get a movie, they would get that one. And because they would miss so many other big movies. So they would have their choice sometimes. And that's when they got.
Well, this is another one that the music just kills me. Matter of fact, I got inappropriately excited when Jeremy did an outtake with the Jack's Lament song
over Superman and Justice League. I love that outtake. What have I done? Because it's exactly what's on his face in that scene.
He's covering his eyes and everything. It's hilarious. But no, I mean the music, because it's Danny Elfman singing the character of Jack Sparrow.
Ha!
Of Jack Skellington, and then it's Chris Sarandon doing the voice.
Yeah.
But they mesh really, really well. And Danny Elfman has a really powerful voice as this, I, Jack the Pumpkin King.
Yeah.
And the aesthetics, and now it's become like almost like integrated into like the Hot Topic Gothic culture and everything.
It really has, almost in a sad way.
Yeah.
Because,
it's definitely been co-opted.
Yeah, it's like putting Calvin on the back of your car peeing on something. It doesn't mean you really understand or love this film like you should.
Yeah.
But the What's This song?
Yeah.
When he first goes to Christmas Land is one of the most delightful musical numbers because it's so macabre. Like, it's so dark. It's children throwing snowballs instead of throwing heads. Like, everything to him doesn't make sense, but he's delighted by it. And that's I think, is the centerpiece of that whole movie that glues it all together. But yeah, you're right. All the music is fantastic. I can't fault a thing about that movie.
It's also the only thing. Did you ever take like sculpture class or anything like that in college or in high school? I'm a terrible sculptor, and the only thing I could do was a round head with my thumbs pointed in there for the eyeballs.
So you made
and like
Jack's
put
head.
a little, made Jack's head. That's the only thing I could do. I was like, look, I made another Jack Skellington. The guy's like, oh, come on, make a vase or something.
Yeah, do something useful.
Do something useful.
All right, so my favorite is a movie we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Nice. Talk
With
about
good
music,
reason.
man.
Yeah, absolutely. Great music.
Talk to kids around the world. It might go something like this.
This is I've seen this more than probably any cartoon out there. And it's I don't know if it's completely aged well since 1999. But overall, it's great because of those songs, and
the songs are amazing.
The songs are so good because they actually made like believable musical songs, and they're all great, especially Up There.
Yeah.
Was the one that got nominated was Blame Canada.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good one, but it's not. I think it pales in comparison to many of the other ones that are on there. And I love the little medley they do at the end where they just mash up all the other songs.
Yeah, that Les Mis Revolution song is fan-fucking-tastic.
And it's so wrong, too. Like, when you look at the lyrics that are in that Les Miserables thing where it's like, it might cut your dick in half and you dance the dickless jig. Stuff like that, and Up There, of course, has that great, what is evil anyway? Is there reason to the run?
I like to sing the Don't Swear song.
Oh, yeah.
To the point
it's
where
easy
I showed
and
that.
okay.
Step one instead of shit. What is it?
Step one, instead of shit, say poo.
This poo is cold.
Okay,
This poo is cold.
yeah. Like there's a bunch of examples that they go through.
You shouldn't
and
say
ending.
fuck. No, you shouldn't say fuck. Fuck no.
Okay, you can go. Yeah, those songs are great, and the message of that movie is pretty fantastic too, because and it's at the very, it's what Sheila Broflowski says at the towards the end of it. It's like, horrible, deplorable violence is okay as long as nobody says any dirty words. And it's pretty much what we, I guess enlightened Americans, I don't want to mean condescending or anything, but our enlightened Americans look at it and go, why is stuff like sex and swear words so much worse than like showing decapitations and stuff like that? Why?
Yeah, I don't get it. But you can tell when the governor cap is off for these guys, they just go all in. I mean, it's just like fuck. The Uncle Fucker song is the perfect.
Well, and it's so early in the movie, it's jarring if you're not ready for it.
Well, and you see the kids' reactions. We're like, what? Donkey raping sheep.
Baby brother's like, donkey raping sheep.
And then by the end of it, they're just like bouncing along, like all smiling and everything.
And then they go and tell their friends and everything, and it's like, hey Stan, tell Wendy about the time where Philip called Terrence a testicle shitting rectal wart. And there's something about the delivery of that is so funny to me, because first off, you've already told everybody what that, but then let's talk about this scene as something that is great and something that is,
I also love how he pukes every time that girl talks to him.
Yep.
She comes up. Is that Stan?
Yeah.
Hi, Stan.
Yeah. It's something they sort of established in the first couple of seasons, is every time Wendy showed up, he would vomit in her face and everything.
And then when they come in and the kid breaks on his skate and the vomit flies up into his face.
Yeah.
But my favorite is when Cartman, when they come out and they're telling their friends about it, they're like, where'd you learn how to talk like that? And Cartman walks away and he's like, yeah, it's pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah.
I also like the depiction of movie theater employees with the box office guy.
Yeah.
This movie has naughty language.
That big, beautiful song that opens up, no swear words in that at all and everything. And they're like going to the Terrence and Phillip movie and everything. And it's like, I'd like 5 tickets for Terrence and Phillip Asses of Fire, please. No.
He's smiling.
They get a homeless guy to buy them, right?
Yeah. He's like, this movie might not be appropriate for you young ones. He's like, hey, he may have said this might be not appropriate for you. Hey, man, if you don't want your $5 and get your vodka, be my guest. 5 tickets, please. But yeah, it just goes to show we can sit here and talk about. I could go through that whole movie right now and everything, and that's how good it is. There's not many cartoons for adults out there. No. Heavy Metal was one, and it's debatable as to whether that's an adult cartoon, even though it's got nudity in it and whatever. It's more like a teenage adolescent type of.
What is the point of Heavy Metal?
Oh, geez. Well, I think if you take some drugs, you might find the point.
Oh, okay.
It's that kind of movie. I think. If I was like the hash kind of guy, which I'm not, I could enjoy Heavy Metal. But I remember we were in it in college because cartoon with nudity, all right, and we just were bewildered.
Yeah, exactly. I've watched it a couple times.
It's like the Simpsons kids coming out of Naked Lunch. That's exactly what our faces were like. Like, what? Why did we watch this? What was that?
It was basically just a movie that they. It was like, here, heavy metal is popular right now. Let's make a whole movie with Sammy Hagar and shit like that, and then have all these these loose. They're unconnected stories.
Yeah, no, I can't follow it at all.
And there's the nerdy kid who turns into the big handsome Adonis guy.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of that movie because he's like, different, and he looks down at his penis and he's like, big. But there's not many of these R-rated cartoons. Sausage Party came out, and you have a couple here and there. I guess they have a hard time marketing those because cartoons. Sausage Party. They actually had to go out and say this. I think it was Ted. Ted was because of the teddy bear. They had to go out and on the poster and say, "Not for kids. Don't take your kids to this teddy bear movie," and stuff like that. And they have to kind of do that with all these. Raunchy cartoons a lot of times. Not for your kids. Don't take it in here. I know it looks friendly, but it's not.
Which is kind of interesting, I think, culturally, that you, at least here in America, I bet you over, in Asia, this is different. I bet there's a lot more adult-oriented animation that's done. I don't follow the world of anime very much, but if it's a cartoon, we assume it's safe for kids. That's just how it kind of works, right? Like at Disney, they had a big TV playing cartoons in the lobby. Send my brother's kids over there, watch cartoons while we go check in or buy something from the gift shop. We just assume they're not watching heavy metal, right? Especially at the Disney resort.
That'd be awesome.
But, if you think about way back in the day, cartoons, while probably being made for kids, should not have been. Like, I'm talking about all these Bugs Bunny cartoons with all the violence and all the gun shit and sometimes casual racism and misogyny and whatnot. And cartoons began kind of as a very adult medium, at least in terms of the content, and has grown into this thing where we just assume, it's animated, it's for kids. So, yes, if I'm the money guy at a studio, I'm probably not going to greenlight adult, R-rated animated movie because I don't want to spend too much money trying to figure out how to market it.
Well,
and Sausage Party, I don't think did shabby, but I don't think it was any kind of runaway hit.
It was a pretty big hit.
Was it really?
Yeah, I mean, there was more controversy about what they paid the animators and everything on that movie than anything, but I think I don't think it hit quite 100 million, but it did hit around. It was like 80 or 90,
all right,
somewhere around there. It did pretty well. But yeah, that's the thing. You're going to lose a lot of your audience that would be attracted to a cartoon. And I think there's maybe something unsettling about seeing cartoon because we are so used to these things being family fare.
Right.
There is something very unsettling about seeing violence and
even that
swear
Justice
words.
League Flashpoint Paradox.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman holds up the severed head of Mira.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck, movie? This is for kids.
Yeah. I do want to read this thing that Matt Stone, when they were going through the MPAA, there's a memo. The MPAA, basically they put a lot of bad stuff they had no intention of keeping in the movie so that the MPAA could come back and say, cut this, cut this, cut this, and they pat themselves on the back over it and everything. But it says, here's our new cut of the South Park movie to submit to the MPAA. I wanted to tell you exactly what notes we did and did not address. Number one, we left in both the fisting and the rim job references in the counselor's office scene. We did cut the word hole from asshole as per our conversation. Number two, we took out the entire God has fucked me in the ass so many times. It is gone. Although it is not animated yet, we put a new storyboard in for clarification in the scene with Saddam Hussein's penis. The intent now is that you never see Saddam's real penis. He is in fact using dildos both times. Number four, we have the shot animated that reveals the fact that Winona is not shooting ping pong balls from her vagina. She is, in fact, hitting the balls with a ping pong paddle. Number five, we took out the only reference to cum-sucking ass in the film.
Wow.
It was in the counselor's office and we took it out. Number six, we left in the scenes with Cartman's mom and the horse as per our conversation. This is the one joke we really want to fight for. Call with any questions. Matt, P.S. This is my favorite memo ever. Oh my God, I love that.
That's so awesome.
All right, guys. So we've gone through our best and our favorites. What do you guys feel is really underseen?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to cheat and drop two with a little quick one here. Talking about movies that either are or should be for adults when they're animated. I wrote down Secret of Nimh as a movie that's underseen.
Yes.
yeah.
In fact, I very nearly put this in my favorite category.
It's so good, but I wouldn't show it to anybody who's too young because it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's also older, but I don't really ever hear, except for Russell, who we worked with at the theater, who I actually watched this movie with twice.
Really?
On two separate occasions. I don't hear people talk about this movie. You'll hear references to Dark Crystal 10 times more often than you will Secret of Nimh. And there's era similar and also tonally, I think, similar.
Yep.
But so Secret of Nimh, check it out.
This is Don Bluth, who's a legend.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this movie all the time when I was a kid because HBO used to play it all the time. And what I can say about this movie is that they don't make family movies like this anymore. This would scare the fuck out of children these days.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Because especially the owl that she goes to see, like there, there's like the satisfying crunch of the owl like grabbing like a rat or something like that. Like there's a point where he's talking to Miss Frisbee. And she's like kind of afraid for her life too during this whole thing. But while they're talking, he goes over and stomps on something and like eats it, and it just sort of adds to the tension of the scene because she's got to ask him for something.
Yeah, some kind of favor.
That owl is fucking scary, man.
Wow.
The whole movie is full of creepy, scary things, and yet it's not a horror movie or anything. I think it's just more that what we've been talking about. When you see animation, you're not expecting some of the harsher stuff that this movie has. Now, the one I really want to label as my underseen, I mentioned before, I believe when we were doing the best of the years, and that's the animated Curious George with Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really enjoy this movie, and I don't know why it's off everyone's radar. I just don't hear anyone ever mention it. I don't hear anyone sing the Jack Johnson songs from the soundtrack, except when they played on the radio, and people don't even realize they're from because he did like several songs for that soundtrack. I think he even did the score or some of it. Simple adventure. You know the story of Curious George, how the man in the yellow hat ends up with the monkey. But this is a very good interpretation that's funny. Will Ferrell is not super Will Ferrell-y because I think in person on live action, he's a very physical kind of comedian in many ways, like that whole Frank the Tank shit from old school and being naked running. A lot of his comedy is physicality, but you strip all that away, and he just has really great timing with some of his lines. A lot of throwaway lines where he's talking to himself or talking to the monkey, which is basically talking to himself. The chimp. Sorry, I'm going to get hammered for mislabeling that. But yeah, I think it's really, again, another one that's super short, like probably 72 minutes. And I don't think it made much at the box office, came and went, but I sure do enjoy it. My wife and I rented it one day and just fell in love. Now we own it.
I still haven't, I haven't seen it. You've brought this one up a couple of times and I still haven't seen it.
My son loves this movie.
Oh yeah?
No, it's fun.
So
It's
you've
a lot of
seen
fun.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's not Pixar level greatness. I'm not telling you missed out on a gem, but it is better that it is good enough that I feel like people should be talking about it more often or referencing it more often.
No, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's got some great sight gags in it too. Like I love that monkey. That chimp. I don't know. One of the most fun books that I could read to my kid when he was younger was Curious George.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how can he fuck up this situation?
Yep.
And then how can he fuck that situation up even more?
He's a big fuck up.
And then how can he be forgiven for fucking up all his stuff? And then always ends with like him joining a parade thrown in his honor or something like that. Like, oh, the monkey ended up saving the day. No, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's got. My wife and I quote this movie too. The Will Ferrell lines, like he puts on the slicker and the hat because it's raining or whatever. But then like all of his shit drifts away on the boat, I think, if I'm remembering it right. He's watching it sail away, and he goes, "Goodbye, all my non-yellow things," because he's completely dressed in yellow. Just little subtle things like that. I really like it. I give it 2 Jeremy thumbs up.
Nice.
By the way, just to interject about Secret of Nimh, the story, I remember this, I kind of remember this now. Like she's got a sick kid, and she has to go save her sick kid. And I think the part of it is that they need to move wherever they're from to get him to be, well again or whatever. But voices include friend of the show, Derek Jacobi.
Oh, nice.
As Nicodemus and child stars Shannon Doherty and Will Wheaton.
Oh,
wow.
Had voices.
How did I never know Will Wheaton was a voice in that?
The voice of Martin.
That's very interesting because he's very active online and talks frequently about like stuff like Stand By Me or Next Generation, but I don't think I've seen him ever mention Secret of Nimh.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
And I said Mrs. Frisbee because that's what the book called her, was Miss Frisbee. The book is called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nimh. Then they changed it to The Secret of Nimh, and they changed her name to Mrs. Frisbee.
Oh,
And
what the fuck?
I guess because of Frisbee, like Americans are stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Either that or a lawsuit from the Frisbee Corporation.
It could be. It's probably something like that. Anyway, what else underseen?
Well, this is a very underseen animated film, and it's going completely away from the Disney genre, like Jeremy started. It's called Persepolis.
I love Persepolis.
You're going to score with the film school crowd.
Man, this movie is so fucking amazing.
It is awesome.
It's powerful. It's the most moving animated movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so that you forget almost what you're watching because the animation is atypical. Like it's fantastical at times, and then it's realistic at times. And just the way that it's shot and the way that the story is told and the vulnerability in her voice. This is Marianne Satrapi, an Iranian immigrant that was trying to make her way in Europe and everything while still connected to her family at home during the Islamic Revolution. And man, it will punch you in the gut between the interactions with her grandmother, the interactions with her family overall, her kind of journey through puberty and relationships and things like that, and through academics. It's so great. It's so great.
And that's a I believe an R-rated cartoon. It's
it may be, yeah.
But it's not R-rated in the way that you would think of an R-rated cartoon.
Yeah.
I think it's just like language and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember watching this and it was just super good. It's
tense as hell too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is a time where anybody and everybody could be thrown in jail for violating the Shah or later on the government's decrees. And they were hyper religious and they were hyper strict. And if you went out of line, you get arrested and probably killed in jail like her uncle does.
I'm pretty sure there's still places like that in the Middle East.
Yep.
I just looked at it, PG-13, but it's still sort of an adult type of cartoon. This is not something you're like, hey, get the kids in the car and let's enjoy our evening, our afternoon.
My God! And when she is a child, because it follows her from being a young child all the way up to adulthood. When she's a child, she's the most precocious, like, adorable child. I mean, she's just always happy. She's always like engaged, even with all this crazy shit going on around her. She is that light out of there, and that helps her family get through this hard time. And then you see that innocence just wane away and get chipped away. All this crazy shit happens. And man, it's so good.
I'll have to rewatch this one. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out actually. But yeah, I want to get a sort of revisit that one. And on my underseen, I was going to say Red Turtle because I still feel like a lot of people haven't seen that, but I have a better choice as far as this underseen.
Well, Red Turtle's a great one, so
because the Red Turtle is, I believe a lot of people on their alternative animation jumped on Kubo and Kubo and the Two Strings,
right?
And it's well worth it for sure. But I feel like the Red Turtle, I mean, sort of similarly themed. That's such a beautiful movie. So definitely go watch that. One popped in my head though. A movie that came out in 2015, Anomalisa.
Oh.
Charlie Kaufman directed with Duke Johnson and wrote the script, of course, and everything. It's only 3 people as far as voice actors because the story is this guy who travels a lot away from his wife and everything. Everybody sounds the same to him. So Tom Noonan plays like everybody else, everybody in this, and it's David Thewlis plays the main guy. So like basically this guy is attracted to a different voice is basically what it comes down to, and he finally hears Jennifer Jason Leigh's voice and he strikes up a conversation with her and everything like that. So the movie is really like it's funny and darkly funny and sad and a lot of different things all at once because this guy is very lonely. You can tell that from his perspective, everything just sucks because everybody sounds the same and looks the same. Like I didn't even really recognize this at the beginning But like as he's walking through the airport, everybody's got sort of the same face. Everybody's got sort of the same voice almost. And then he goes into the cab, and the cab driver, he's prattling on about a bunch of stuff, and he sounds the same as everybody else. But finally, this one voice out of the whole thing comes out, and he's like, "Oh, I must know more about this person." And it's funny because the person that he meets is with another friend who apparently always gets the attention from men, like always. And he's like some famous, I don't know why he's famous for this, but he's a famous public speaker for something like that. Didn't seem like you should be famous for it, whatever. It didn't matter. But people knew who he was when he wanted. So he has this conversation with these two women, and the one who has the different voice is the one he's attracted to. And she's like, well, usually people really like my friend, often, more often and everything. He's like, no, it's you and everything. And she is kind of like, I guess, plain looking or whatever. But yeah, there's even a sex scene in this movie.
Oh,
like
wow.
it's kind of like, it's almost like Team America in a way. Because it's not, I don't want people hearing me and saying that, oh, well, it's just like Team America. It's just that it's just unusual to see stop motion animated stuff. And I watched all the making of stuff after I watched this thing and everything, and I'm like, I can't believe the fucking work it took to have these two characters have sex. And they were talking about it. They're like, we're trying, we want this to be, and it's a very tender scene. It's not like, it's not like trying to make you laugh, but you still kind of snicker a little bit. But the stuff that they did, like they had to, when they're pulling off his shirt, they had to make it realistic. They had to like do all sorts of stuff like with hangers and wires and stuff like that to make it look realistic as it crumpled, and everything. And just unimaginable amount of work. But if you want to see something just really different, just watch Anomalisa. Charlie Kaufman obviously immediately says this is going to be a different experience.
Yeah.
And I saw this probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I didn't think very many people had seen this.
No, I think you're right. It's pretty far off radar.
Yeah.
But you made a good pitch because now I want to see it.
Yeah.
Not for the sex scene, though.
No.
I like the idea. There's something, I think that's a very simple romantic idea that everyone sounds the same until the girl has a different voice. Like, I love that. Mm-hmm. That's what you said that hooked me on watching that movie. Yeah,
and everybody even women and men look all the same. And the funny thing about Tom Noonan in this is he was talking about that. I was watching some of these making of things, and apparently this started off as a play or whatever that Charlie Kaufman wanted to do, and it was like not some big thing. He just wanted to do a thing for a couple of days or whatever. And Tom Noonan's like, why would you want me? My voice is so like monotone and like you can't really distinguish it from anybody else. And he's like, he must have had a big laugh out of that because that's exactly why he wanted me.
That's great.
It's a really unusual movie, and I'd recommend it. And just to see how much work went into it, they nearly ran out of money.
Oh yeah,
trying to make it, and they didn't think they were going to be able to finish it and everything. But God, man, they really did some freaking work. It's kind of like Team America. They did a lot of work on that for really little return. And it's always interesting to me. That's really sort of labor of love type stuff.
Yeah, no kidding.
We've gone through all that. What about our underrated?
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
Underrated.
Well, I somehow wrote Curious George here as well, so I'll have to go with my alternate answer. The 80s animated Transformers movie.
Interesting. I agree with you.
Because, A, I do think it's good.
Yes.
And B, it's certainly the best Transformers movie we've ever seen.
I agree.
To date. And if you've never watched it, I think it will give you more of a pure Transformers vibe than anything Michael Bay's done. I remember as a kid, I watched the TV show, the Transformers TV show, all the time. I would literally run home from school to catch it. And so when this movie came out, it was a pretty big deal because it essentially is the same chronology of the show I was watching. Yeah. The characters are the same. It's the same universe. It's just now we're getting a bigger budget and there's some stuff in space. And anyway, I love it. I think it's great. I have watched it maybe not in the last 5 or 6 years. I should pull it out again. But I think I looked it up. It's got like a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, which seems criminally low. It's not a 95, but it ain't no 55.
It's pretty dark.
It's dark for, well, Optimus Prime dies.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark for a kid. You know, when I saw it, it was a little darker than I was expecting. I think if I watched it today, I wouldn't find it quite as dark as I used to.
What was with the era back then, man? The 80s? Like, they really, when we grew up with some fucked up stuff, man.
It produces people like us.
Yeah, pretty much. And we turned out okay.
Yeah, sure.
I turned out TV.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Transformers the movie has some heavy hitting voice talent.
Yes, it does.
Orson Welles, Leonard Nimoy, Robert Stack.
The last feature Orson Welles was ever in.
Yeah,
Casey Kasem.
Yeah, Casey Kasem. But yeah, Orson Welles, apparently, of course, this was his MO by this point, did this for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And was not too pleased that he was in this animated fucking movie. But, you know, who cares? You got your money, man.
Yeah, man. That movie starts out with a spaceship devouring a planet of robots.
Yeah.
And before that, you see, like, the child robots playing around in a robot mall and like running around, and they get fucking eaten by this fucking by the butthole of this like Death Star looking thing, squeezed right up in that butthole and consumed for its own energy. It's fucked up, man.
It is fucked up, but I like it. I think it's way better than its reputation.
It's actually, I think it was like a Japanese animation.
In many
version
ways.
of it,
Yeah.
that was kind of Americanized, and it's really, really cool. Good pick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love this pick. So 1996, right when shit was starting to go really computer generated and all that stuff, Hunchback of Notre Dame came out.
Oh, so I'm disappointed in this pick.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yes, the
Yeah,
bells
Hunchback
of Notre Dame.
Yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame is that movie with the dude and the Notre Dame fighting Irish and all that.
It's actually, that's the subtitle of the movie.
That's right.
I think this is a good pick because I think this is underrated.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think Hercules is better in this era. I almost put Hercules down, but I looked it up. It's got like a 7 out of 10 average critic score. It's like, well, I guess people kind of liked it. I can't call it underrated.
This was the really weird era for Disney because after Lion King, they really sort of tried to. They were struggling to get that next big hit after Lion King because it was Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was Tarzan. It was
Mulan.
Mulan. Hercules. All those came out in that era, and it just. I mean, Ophir really. I mean, they all did okay.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't. They were always comparing. With no Lion King. Not many movies are Lion King.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't have. I mean. The reason that I like it so much is that, yes, they've got like a dashing lead played by Kevin Kline, but the main character is this hunchback, and they, God bless them, they try to make Quasimodo like adorable, and they do, but he's, a disfigured young man who's, sentenced to ring the bells of the church, and I guess audiences couldn't really get behind that, especially because they kind of turned it into a love story with him and the gypsy with Demi Moore and everything. But
yeah, and it's got that song that's like super dark and sexual.
You talk about
like,
some dark
might
shit,
as well
man.
have titled that song like Church Rape or something. It's like super dark. I remember even as a college age person watching this movie, I was super uncomfortable watching that song. And Quasimodo's also got a little Tarzan in him. Like, doesn't he like swing around the church and on ropes?
But I mean, that's his thing. Yeah,
does he do that in the book?
I don't know.
I don't think he does.
There's also not a church rape song in the book. But it's got, man, it's in the catacombs, in the like the underground stuff. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It's like almost like a Demolition Man type of underground society. But the jester in that has this amazing voice. Forgetting who the voice talent was, but like these songs are really, really great and completely atypical from what Disney had done before.
I do agree with you. It was atypical in tone, in the fact that the lead was disfigured and not the handsome guy, and yeah, that may be a lot to do with why it didn't perform so well, or even why it got reviews that are worse than you think it deserves because no one was expecting that kind of a film from Disney. But like, I'm not going to poo-poo your pick too much. It's good. I believe that film is underrated. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think it should be a little
Did
bit
I talk about this before? Is this the movie where the guy's in the cage and then through some kind of chase that's going by, he gets freed from the cage, but then
he
gets
steps
trapped
into
in something else? Like, I can't remember the gag, but I remember it made me laugh a lot.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right.
The one that I'm going to bring up is not a movie that I've seen, I think, even more than once. I saw it in the theater and I haven't seen it since, but I remember the movie Hoodwinked being better than I ever imagined it would be.
Ashton Kutcher?
No, this is Anne Hathaway plays basically Little Red Riding Hood. It's a take on the Little Red Riding Hood story. And instead of the granny being a victim, she's actually like this fucking extreme sports, like loving whatever.
I never saw this movie.
Whatever. So it starts off just like any other Little Red Riding Hood story where she's going to Granny's house and all this other type of stuff. But in front of her, she's poor old Granny. But like then later on, you find out that she's like behind the scenes. She's, she can ski and she can do all these extreme sports. I remember this movie just being funny. Like, it wasn't great by any means. This was the Weinstein Company was coming out with an animated movie. And it came out in that horrible year of 2005.
So, of course, you saw it.
I saw it. Yeah, it came out in January. But I remember watching it and going, that wasn't great or anything, but I did kind of liked it. I think they ended up coming out with a sequel to this because it did get sort of a following and everything. But 6.5 on the IMDb, that's probably about right, So it may not be underrated, but I imagine on Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably didn't get a very high rating. I haven't looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score, but
it's 46%.
Yeah.
Also has Exhibit and Anthony Anderson.
It does. It's You have Anne Hathaway, you have Glenn Close playing the granny, and you have Patrick Warburton playing Wolf W. Wolf.
A takeoff of Winston Wolfe, I guess?
So this is the only movie to co-star Glenn Close and Exhibit, right?
Probably
for
so.
For sure.
Yeah,
well, there was she was in that episode of Pimp My Ride. She had like a Corolla that was broken down. She was like, Exhibit, you got to come over and pimp my ride.
I need a Super Nintendo in this thing.
Yeah, it's almost like I guess it's almost like I don't know if you'd call it Rashomon or whatever, but it's these characters telling the police what happened in the story.
Oh, like an Inside Man thing.
Yeah, kind of like that. Anyway, that's I would say there's not many movies that I've seen like underrated cartoons that like people haven't. I mean, people don't rate highly or whatever. Right. Like I don't watch animation like a lot by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you're telling me that story of like, popping in Aladdin with your friends. Yeah. I don't think that would have ever happened in my friend circle. That's not, we wouldn't have been like, hey, put on Aladdin. We would have been more along like the, put in the Simpsons or something like that, whatever. But yeah, that was one that I was like, it's kind of surprisingly good, especially in that year.
Any honorable mentions?
Shit. No.
Well, I had put on my best list, and I went to Aladdin, but Inside Out, man. Inside Out's got to be considered as one of the best, right? And this is really marking the high watermark of Disney Pixar after that decline, right?
Well, yeah, if they hadn't come out with Good Dinosaur right afterwards.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think Inside Out is the best of this second wave era of Pixar movies. I would go that far. I like the human stuff a lot more when it goes into her brain and the fuzzy elephant whatnot, and then there are literally no rules. It's a little loopy like the end of Wall-E for me. But I did really like it. I have watched it multiple times. I think that whole moment with Riley breaking down, it just hits home for me so much that there's an emotional satisfaction for me to watch that film. I don't know that I would put it on my best of all time list, but I wouldn't kick you out of bed for shit. Screwed that one up. I wouldn't hold it against you if your body held it against me.
No, do another one.
No, I think I'll stop.
Jeremy's iron.
Jeremy's. Here's a ball. Perhaps you'd like to bounce it.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can really sort of list a lot of Pixar stuff we haven't mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really mention Toy Story, even though it sort of started launched that whole computer animation deal. It was that, A Bug's Life, and then DreamWorks came in later with Ants and all that. But Toy Story, I think, still holds up pretty well as far. I mean, the movie's 22 years old.
Yeah, it does,
and it's still quite a delight. And the other two are great. We've mentioned what we felt about those before. Those are good. They just, I mean, really unnecessary ultimately. But you know, I think Toy Story out of that era, that first beginning of it, is definitely the class of that first, 6 or 7 years before they got into the Incredibles and everything. So yeah, you gotta bring it up Toy Story.
Yeah. The other thing is, when you look at the best animation lists from people, Ratatouille tops the list a lot more than I expected.
Well,
I
that's
like
good.
That movie.
I think that movie's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that. When I flip past that, it's been playing on Stars a lot.
Yeah,
lately. I generally stop. And my wife always comes in, is that Ratatouille? Because she can recognize the music. The music's so signature to that film. I just love it. Love it. Hey, we've talked about a lot of rat movies today. Should we talk about any more rat movies?
I don't know.
Rival Goes West.
We can talk about Watership Down.
Oh, that's another
Rats
dark,
involved
Another
with
dark
adult
Yep.
themed.
There's definitely some fucking in there, right?
Oh, total.
It's about rabbits. There's got to be fucking in that one.
Yeah, exactly. If that movie came out today, there would be a joke about how many kids they have because there's so much fucking going on.
Like Zootopia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Now we get some pretty good messages through our SoundCloud and everything. And is this one through SoundCloud?
This one came straight to email.
This one went to our email.
Yes.
Okay. So we get some good ones through our email and our SoundCloud and a variety of places and everything. Every once in a while, one comes in that we're like, you know what, I think we need to read this one.
Yeah.
So how about we do that this time?
Yeah. So this comes from a listener named George. Really appreciate the message, and just one of those things that we wanted to kind of get out there to say thank you, and to kind of maybe if somebody is going through similar things, maybe this will help to connect you guys. So to Chris, Jeremy, and Barrett, I understand people email you to thank you what you have contributed to their lives and wish to do the same. I finally caught up with SinCast after beginning the journey of insane movie matchups, Bad Santas, and Cloacas.
Yep. Indeed.
The way that is written, it's really strong. Okay. So I went through the journey of insane movie matchups, Bad Santas, and Cloacas. It's actually Cloacae.
Yes.
So,
but you know what? Today it's Cloacas.
Yeah, in honor of George.
Yep, that's right.
It's Cloacas.
The summer of George!
Several months ago, and I am definitely a happier person because of it. I'm obsessed with movies and will continue to be as I pursue my dream of being a film director, but I've never had a friend or group of friends through my life so far who have shared the love I had, and then I started listening to you three. These past couple years, specifically school-wise, haven't been easy as I've been trying to deal with being made fun of because I'm different, even by my close friends, and never really having people like me to talk to. And while I know people listen to SinCast at work and at school, and those things are rather unfun and boring, you three make it a highlight of my day, and I thank you so much for it. So please continue what you're doing. I facepalm at the way people take everything wrong with videos seriously and accuse you all of hating on movies, but a single episode of SinCast can prove them otherwise. I think I would agree with that. This has been rather long, so I should cut it here. Thank you so much for the joyful and thoughtful podcast that is the SinCast. You changed many people's lives for the better and should be very, very proud of it. Regards, George.
Now, let me say something. I don't want to sound too proud of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we make jokes for the most part. We talk movies. But I think there is something very real being said here that is worthwhile that I don't think about enough. And that is that some people can connect to us through the content we make, videos, podcasts, etc., and it helps them through difficult times. Hearing you read that letter reminded me of my own high school experiences. I think we all agreed in email last night, high school fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And it sucks that people who are different have a harder time getting through those years. And if we're able to provide any kind of assistance there, whether you view us as comrades because we like film, or we just make you laugh and you've had a bad day, that is a very meaningful thing for me to hear. That
Very much.
makes me feel really good. Because, yeah, we do just make jokes, but for some people, sometimes that can be what they need to get through a situation or a moment. And really glad that you wrote that letter, George, and that I'm sorry you're going through that shit, but I'm glad that we can be here for you in some capacity. We got hours and hours of podcasts, so, plenty of content there, although it sounds like you've already listened to all of them.
It is something that, I never really think about a lot of times until somebody does this. You know, they say there, and I don't really do this because I'm hoping someone out there, like, I don't know, has some sort of kinship with us or whatever. And like, I don't think about brightening somebody's day like this, but every time I hear something like that, I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty amazing. It makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, we do this for the entertainment value as much as we can and everything, but I never think of it in these type of lights, where it might like brighten somebody's day and that type of thing. So
that's good to hear.
That's awesome. Well, if you do want to communicate with us, the best way is SoundCloud, but feel free to email us or feel free to tweet us and things like that. And we can't get to everybody, but we really appreciate your feedback.
Yeah. And somebody's reading everything, comments or emails or what have you. We can't always respond or read them on air or what have you, but somebody's always paying attention.
Yes.
So.
All right, guys, we're here to talk about Nature Box again.
Yeah, we are.
I do like it. I do like to talk about it.
We do this every once in a while.
Yes, we do, because they're fantastic.
They are pretty fantastic.
Man, I got on there the other day, placed my order. It was so easy. You can link up with your Amazon account.
Yeah, that's
to
what I
pay
do.
for this.
Yeah.
It takes no time at all. Like, it was done in 30 seconds. I selected my snacks. I spent a lot of time on the snacks to figure out what I wanted. And of course, like, I overdid it. Like, I got a lot of snacks, but it'll last you for a while. And I got some for the wife, got some for the kid, got some for me. And click, click, boom. That's it.
Boom chakalaka.
Click, click, boom.
That suddenly turned into like a stadium.
Ball with the ball.
Yes.
But it's all terrifically easy. You get awesome snacks, very healthy, and all that stuff.
Click, click, boom.
Click, click, boom, baby.
Well, so the segregation in my household continues on the Nature Box snacks. My wife and I continue to diverge further and further. We still have this same core, right? So now basically there's a shelf in our pantry for Jeremy's Nature Box. There's a shelf for my wife's Nature Box. And then there's a shelf for shared.
Oh.
And I accidentally took a snap from the shared shelf, put some in a bowl, and put it back on the Jeremy shelf. Not on purpose, but I heard about it. My wife said, hey, this snack has migrated to the Jeremy only shelf. What's up with that?
Well, it's a bowl, though.
Yeah, well,
It's shared. It's all shared.
Well,
anyway.
What would you say is in your shared?
In the shared, the hickory smoked turkey jerky we both like. The lentil loops we both like. The roasted almonds the roasted cashews we both like. But I'm sure if they have roasted almonds, those are awesome. And then, the wife-centric shelf is all the dried fruit stuff, and then anything spicy, like the sriracha doodads and the whippets. Whereas my shelf then is all the salty Jeremy stuff, the sourdough cheddar pretzels, the sourdough cheddar pretzels, the sourdough cheddar pretzels. Usually get about 3 bags of those now at this point. Again, I've said it before, that stuff is crack.
Kind of impossible to put down.
I really can't. And that's the thing is I try and portion it. I put like a handful in a bowl, and then I'm right back in that pantry unzipping that thing and putting more in the bowl. It's pointless.
Isn't that both the worst and best things about snacks sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
You go over and you're like, I will only have this amount, and I'm going to be an adult about this. And so you get it, and you put it in your bowl or whatever, and you got a nice drink, a nice beverage with it.
Drank.
Nice drink.
Jesus.
And you're sitting there, you eat them and everything. And you're like, well, it wouldn't hurt to put like, I don't know, 4 more in here, and then you go and you sneak those, and then like, okay, 6, 7 more,
is good.
7 more.
It is really nice to me because I'm a hunter-gatherer kind of shopper, right? Like Back when I worked for Kroger, I remember them telling us the average shopper buys 5 items. I'm used to thinking people are going in there with full carts of 200 items and checking out, but the average person is buying 5 items. That's me. I'll go to the store when I need some snacks. I'll grab some snacks. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Now when I'm in the store, I see all those nasty, greasy potato chips and other things. I'm like, I've got snacks at home on 3 different shelves that are healthy and good for me and tasty. And so there's less that I have to even think about when it comes to making sure I have something nearby whenever I do get that hankering for a snack.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be in the same boat we are.
That's right.
Just like some of our fans on Twitter have been sharing the last few days, their pictures of the peanut butter graham jam and the other various delights. You can go to naturebox.com/SinCast.
Yep.
And you can get 3 free snacks in your first order.
All you have to do is put the promo code SINS. And listen, when you go through that URL, when you go through the naturebox.com/SinCast, it puts it in for you. It does the promo code for you.
That's pretty rad.
It imports it. You don't have to type out that SINS.
It's like it knows.
Exactly.
Also, look at all that labor we're saving you.
I know, man.
4 keystrokes that we just saved you.
I think at this point we can be just like Sandra Bullock in The Net. And we don't ever have to leave the house now to get the things that we need. I just watched this movie called The Net, starring that girl from The Bus.
The Bus. I was just about to quote that. The computers
where nobody none of her neighbors knew even what she looked like.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Don't get that bad.
No, J.D.
Don't
Salinger.
get that bad. Go outside at least a few times.
Yeah,
at least so that your neighbors can recognize you.
Hey guys,
in case some horrible hacking happens, some horrible 1997 hacking or whatever the hell.
Hello, do you want to buy a computer? No, thank you.
Anyway, no, it's good stuff, and we wouldn't steer you wrong.
Yeah,
so.
again, naturebox.com/SinCast. 3 free snacks in your first order. We love it. We wouldn't keep talking about it if we didn't. We think you'll love it too.
All right, so we're going on to some Q&A.
Oh, yeah.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
We got some good ones, man.
All right.
Got some good questions.
Let's cue it.
My favorite one here. Okay. This one got my noodle bacon. What is the biggest off-screen moment you wish you had seen? And I love this example. This listener's biggest example is the robbery in Reservoir Dogs. You see a couple of shots of the escape, but all they do is talk about the robbery, which is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
The alternate example of them showing this is Rogue One showed all the collection of the plans and everything.
Now, I will say this. This is a great question. Mm-hmm. However, these movies need to be this way.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And we're not saying that we want the movie to be this. We just want to see. Yeah. We want to see what they're talking about. Basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So for me, it is all the stuff that happens leading up to the beginning of The Hangover.
I'm gonna fuck this tiger right here.
Yes. So by the end of it, we see a lot of pictures and stuff like that of all this type of stuff. And yeah, they get a little bit of the footage of the, I'm gonna fuck this tiger and all that type of stuff. But there's no explanation for the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
All the bullshit that's in there, all in the hotel room. I don't even know. Even though they said I guess they put the tiger in their car or whatever. I'm still trying to figure out how they led that thing through the casino or whatever, and then got to the bathroom, and then he was unable to get out of the bathroom somehow and whatever. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but now of course it needs that for its comic tension and everything to not tell you. So it's funny that the chicken's there because exactly what kind of scenario gets the chicken in there and what scenario has all this good, all this stuff that's in there. So yeah, I want to see that.
That's
nice.
good.
Nice.
Good
I like
pick.
that.
I'm going to go with something I've talked to you about before in No Country for Old Men. We jump completely over the motel shootout that ends with Llewellyn dying. We cut to Tommy Lee Jones pulling up as I think they're Mexican gunmen, go flying out of the parking lot and disappear, and he pulls in and finds Llewellyn dead in this crime scene. Now, there are a few reasons I would like to see that attack. And one is that the movie shows us so many great moments of tense action. that I think we could have another one there. But more than that, and I can't decide if this is selfish or not. I want to see the moment Llewellyn realizes he's done. Because he's almost stupidly cocky the whole movie, thinking that he can get away. Like, people repeatedly try to warn him. You know, Woody Harrelson's like, you're out of your element here. And he just he keeps going. But at some point before he died and lost breath, he realized, I'm fucked. And I would like to have seen that moment, because I bet Brolin would have played the hell out of it. I think it would have been really cool.
Yeah.
So, there you go. I understand why the movie jumps over that moment, but
yeah, exactly.
It's funny, as an aside, I had always wondered why, when Tommy Lee Jones shows up to the motel and he opens up the door, the broken lock and everything, and you see Anton Chigurh sort of like hiding out or whatever. I always wondered about that scene, like why is it that he walks in and nothing happens? And somebody wrote a comment, because I saw this because we were doing the outtakes for Logan, and we had the one for No Country for Old Men. There was a comment that I found really insightful. I never thought about this before, but you know how Llewellyn uses both of the rooms basically, and that he's actually in the other room.
Yeah, Chigurh.
Okay, so you guys knew that?
No, but that was my assumption. But I have always been troubled by the movie cutting to him the way it does without then cutting to something to give us location, because it implies he's in that room. But Tommy Lee turns on the lights and sees the bolts down by the vent, and I think that's the clue that Chigurh came in here and undid these bolts, and he might be in the next room
and
over.
Basically it's 50-50, right? Like if you had chosen the other room,
which is...
And maybe that's what gets him on that track of okay, I really do need to retire and everything, because really that was a 50-50 proposition and I won it, and I'm gonna
get out while you're in.
I had never thought about that. I thought that's probably the most insightful YouTube comment I have ever seen on YouTube.
You've seen insightful YouTube comments on Facebook?
No, probably not. Yeah, there's probably some funny ones here and there, but no, you know what? That's good. That's good thinking there, because I mean, I've seen the movie a couple of times. I've never like really studied that scene. I've always just wondered, why is it like this? And you're right. They don't point it out, but it feels like they should at least show you a little bit of a hint, more of a hint than the other room has also got a broken lock, which is what the guy in the comment said. If you look closely, you see that the room next door has a broken lock too. Oh, wow. But I never noticed that. And if they could have like said, you know, like they could have done something where he walks in, he turns on the light, and then camera just kind of moves over and then reveals that he's in the other room. I think that's just as good. You're not stepping on anything by doing that. Anyway.
No, I those are all good thoughts. I like them.
Yeah. I've got a questionable movie. It's not very great, but I would like to see the scene. So in Revenge of the Sith, you've got when Anakin Skywalker finally gives over to the dark side, when Mace Windu is fighting Palpatine, and that's really where shit goes sideways. He throws Mace out the window. After that, Anakin goes on this murderous spree.
Yep.
And it's only kind of like hinted at. It's talked about.
It's seen in holograms.
Yeah. So there's the only time is where like he looks like he's got like the sweats or something like that, like he's got an illness, and then he comes up as he's about to kill the younglings in the temple, and they come out and they're like, "Oh, thank you, Anakin. At least we can come out." And he's like, I'm gonna,
they're too many.
They're too many. And so okay, not that I want to see him slaughtering the young kids.
Oh, I do.
Chris does.
That kid that steps back when the lightsaber comes down. I wanted to see him split in half, man.
But if there's one thing that the prequels did have, it was that Lucas could stage action pieces from the fight with Darth Maul at the beginning to the first Count Dooku to the Yoda fights and all that stuff. And so you get this hologram footage that lasts maybe 3 seconds from Obi-Wan looking at it of Anakin fighting a tremendous amount of Jedi, where like he's in there like battling them from all sides, and we see just a little snippet of it. I would love to see that whole thing,
and
man.
this is a case where the movie would have been way better by showing it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we don't need to see the kids die, except for me. I just want to see...
While you jerk off, obviously.
That's right. In the front row.
Oh, God. You have a daughter. Get your mind out of the gutter.
That's right. Daughter that I keep in the closet. Chained in the closet.
No, this is definitely better.
No, this is something that would be way better. But and really, it was just an excuse for. I don't know why you keep that shrouded in mystery. Like normally, when you don't see something, it has a plot purpose, a story, narrative purpose that they didn't show it because it's more interesting to see the characters, I don't know, react to it or something like that. But in this case, they should have shown it because we don't really get to see him descending into darkness. It's like a switch.
Yes, it is
flipped.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to see him finally just cross that line. We know he does, but it would have been nice to actually see it happening.
She doesn't have to show her tits. She shows them to him. We see him reacting to it.
That's correct. We just somehow
Is that a
connected State and Maine
Go you Huskies.
and Revenge of the Sith.
Nice.
Somehow.
Hi, guys. I have a question about subtitles in foreign movies. I come from Austria. Hello.
Hello.
And whatever they say in Austria.
They
just
say
know.
hello.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, I think they yodel. Everyone yodels in Austria.
They do. They do.
So they would say, yodelo. I am being such a racist right now.
They're all white people. It's not racist.
They all communicate through you.
I actually have a friend that took his honeymoon in Austria.
Uh-huh.
When he told me, I was like, fucking Austria. Why? What's there? It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Switzerland, only different.
No, I've heard it's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard it's great. Sorry, Austria. I was just having fun.
Yeah, we're just
Taking a
having
piss. Taking a piss.
So nearly all foreign movies and shows are translated into German and dubbed for cinema or TV, and I think probably most Central European countries are doing this. For us, this is pretty normal, and I don't think the movies lose anything by it. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that movies are only good in their original language? Should everyone always be reading subtitles?
I'm fascinated by this because I do think if I grew up and every movie I ever watched had a different voice than the guy I'm seeing on screen, I could probably get to a place where it wouldn't bother me very much.
Mm-hmm.
But as I am now today, it's distracting as all hell to me when they dub somebody else's voice in.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't match. I'm also used to the sound of a lot of these actors' voices, so it matches even less when it's some different tenor of voice. But, I don't have the experience this guy has of having seen it a bunch. Maybe that's why it's so jarring to me today. But I would rather watch subtitles and hear the original voice. I can't stand watching like that overdubbed The Raid 2 that they played on Stars for a while. It was trash.
Oh yeah, I did see that. That was
just
awful.
like, I had to go like online or pop in the DVD or something and just watch the proper version because the one they were playing was garbage for a while.
You've got several things going on with a dub. You have an actor who really isn't like the actor that's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So their voice doesn't seem to match coming out of that person's face, basically. They may not even really know the story or that they're
Yeah.
maybe they do. Maybe dub actors are way more into it than you think they are or whatever. But like, I feel like they're just trying to match the emotion a lot of times. And of course it comes off very weird when it does that. Sort of a case in point, recently when Barrett and I watched Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching that, and the automatic version is English dubs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And so I was sitting there watching it, and I was actually had English subtitles underneath it, and nothing was matching. So that was really crazy to me. Like they would say something, and like whole entire sentences would be there, and they wouldn't say those sentences. But all those English language voices just sounded very strange and stale.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, hey, that's District 9 over there. Yeah. You know, blah blah blah. Hey, the voices just don't match. And so when you go and watch that movie in the actual Japanese, you know, you hear everybody talking. You know, it's
I hope those were real words. I know they weren't, but I hope
they weren't. But I
hope you just accidentally said cucumber butter.
Yeah, exactly. I probably did. I probably said much worse. But when you hear the actual like Japanese, like when they're really just like getting into it and everything, oh, it's the best. Yeah. And I don't mind reading it. You know, I mean, yeah, sure. Ghost in the Shell is a very visual type of thing, so you do kind of want to not be distracted. But after a while, you're good. And the Japanese is way better.
Yeah. So, and I mean, with the movie like Ghost in the Shell, obviously this is the 90s version. It takes its time so much that you don't have to be beholden to the subtitles because it'll be quiet for a while and have those beautiful like set pieces and everything. But I think the consensus is that dubs are weird unless you're used to it.
Have I told the Ed Helms vacation movie story about the translating GPS?
No.
He's trying to punch in GPS to get to his wife's old university, and he accidentally changes the language to something else, and it's like in French or Portuguese. He's like, oh, let me try and change it back, and it changes to another language. And then the third change, the screen goes red, and it's just like, and it's like, he's like, I think that's Korean. And his son's like, why is he so much angrier than the other voices? And it's like, I can't figure out, everything's in Korean, I can't turn it off. And so this guy's just shouting at him, and then he goes, let's wait and see if he calms down. And there's like a 5-second pause, and then screaming at him again. Funny gag. Anyway, I probably should stop talking about that movie because I am sure at this point more people are going to watch it and dislike it on my recommendation than the other way around. But.
Well, you have brought it up in the light of that it is something that hit you just right.
Yeah.
Like it has to. You can't just... That's the problem with the recommend, ironically, is that you can't just tell people, this is great, because people now expect it to be great.
Yeah.
And you don't see it the same way you do. I watched it with these same circumstances, by the way, and I'm like, yeah, I think this is a desperate fucking comedy.
So you didn't enjoy it?
No, I think that car is the funniest part of the movie, probably. But
I'm gonna never bring it up again.
No. I mean, really, honestly, I don't think anybody should harbor any ill will or whatever that you like this movie. I mean, that's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of everybody in this room and everybody listening to this podcast right now likes movies that other people don't. Mm-hmm. So it's whatever. I watched it, of course, with now of an expectation, maybe not a great expectation that it was going to be hilarious, but maybe an expectation that it would be funnier than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And for the first 20 minutes, I was like, man, this is so desperately looking for the laugh. And there's some parts in there that I did like and everything, but man, I was surprised that you did like this movie because it is so fucking gross.
It is pretty gross.
I mean, I was a little surprised by that because there's a lot of gross stuff in it.
Did you think Chris Hemsworth was funny?
Yes, Chris Hemsworth is funny. He's in it for like 5 minutes or whatever.
Well, and then at the very end,
the whole thing, very, very memorably at the end. But like that whole thing with his basically the imprint of his cock in the in his underwear as he goes into their bedroom and everything. He's all he is he got no shirt on. He's got underwear and his there's like an imprint.
He's got like a Mark Wahlberg.
It looks like like archaeologists stumbled on a fossil find or something like that.
And he keeps propping his leg up.
And everything.
I just want to make sure you guys had everything.
He's
you
like,
need.
This is, and he keeps saying stuff that has a double meaning, like it's the perfect fit and everything. And then Ed Helms has the great line later. Yeah. He just came in here to show off his 6-pack.
I think, I might start amending how I talk about that movie to say it's not good, but I love it. Yeah. I might throw it in that Demolition Man pile.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'll probably stop bringing it up on the podcast.
You can
that Korean translation story seemed apt, though, for the discussion.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. If you could team up any specific writer, director, and composer together for a movie, who would they be?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to get Alex Garland, the writer, even though I believe that as a director he would be just as good a choice on this. But I'm going to get Alex Garland, the writer, because he has written a lot of very interesting original things. Sunshine, 28 Days Later, and obviously Ex Machina and all that. So he's worked with Danny Boyle quite a bit.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I mean, Alex Garland and Danny Boyle was a decent matchup, but I think he would work better with Christopher Nolan.
Ooh. Oh man, nice.
And I think if you wanted to make something high concept, high budget, like amazing type of movie, you get Alex Garland, the writer, to go with Christopher Nolan. Now, Christopher Nolan can probably do that himself too,
or his brother Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah.
You can get. I mean, those guys are talented enough that they don't need one another. But just imagine.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times that type of thing doesn't work. Like that, a long time ago, there was a movie called Crime Wave with the Coen brothers and Sam Raimi together, and you thought that when you look at that, you're like, oh, that's going to be amazing, and then you watch it and you're like,
is it bad?
Oh, it's a shitty movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
What's it called?
Crime Wave. I think Sam Raimi directed it, and the Coen brothers wrote it.
Interesting.
It sounds like a sleazy Skinamax movie.
Yeah, right. Crime Wave.
Yeah, it was Sam Raimi directed it, and Ethan and Joel Coen wrote it with Sam Raimi. So a lot of times that doesn't work.
That's crazy. That could have been one of our picks.
Yeah,
could have been.
So yeah, you have that, and then Nolan often works with Hans Zimmer. I'm going to put Hans Zimmer anyway. I mean, that's a match made in it. Hans Zimmer with Christopher Nolan. That's his best work.
Yeah.
Although I guess it's you can argue that this Wonder Woman and DC stuff that Hans Zimmer's doing is actually some of his best work, even though the movies themselves.
Man, I love the Man of Steel theme, and even when I hear it creep in on Batman versus Superman, I'm like, that's a good theme. That's a really good theme. So that's a good pick.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I'm going to go with Aaron Sorkin, because that's probably the first writer I would choose for any project I'm dream casting. And I'm going to put my boy Ben Affleck in there as the director.
That could totally work.
I think it could, because Affleck hasn't directed any films that are as verbal as a Sorkin script would be, if that makes sense. But Sorkin can do a lot more than just be verbal and give you walk and talks. There's a lot of great tension in A Few Good Men. It has nothing to do with the fact that there's verbal sparring going on. So I want to see them do some kind of an action thriller where Affleck can star and direct if he wants. I don't really care. And then I'm going to bring in Sorkin's pal from Social Network, Trent Reznor, to do the score, just because I really just don't want to talk about Michael Giacchino every single podcast. He's my favorite composer. If you're ever going to ask me a question that includes picking a composer, I'm going to choose Michael Giacchino. But just to mix it up, I think what he did with the Social Network and the way that a lot of it was more ambient than musical, I think would add an interesting mix. And so that would be my pick.
That's a good one. Yeah. Man, I would totally watch the shit out of that.
I would watch the shit out of both of these movies so far.
All right. So mine's going to be, I'll read it verbatim. I'd like to see a Curtis Hanson movie set in Nashville about a psychotic school teacher with David Mamet writing, and the score comprised of original songs by Chris Stapleton and Dolly Parton.
Boom. Click, boom.
A psychotic what?
School teacher.
That's everything about your pitch is normal, except in the middle there's a psychotic school teacher. Like, how the fuck? I literally wrote to Barrett back in my notes. How the fuck did you come up with that? Where the hell did that come from?
It just came to me.
Oh, God.
Now,
all right.
unfortunately, Curtis Hanson's no longer with us, but that would be, that would be. I mean, that fits his sensibility for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking more in the vein of 8 Mile than in the vein of.
Here's what we need to do: we need to get Rachel Weisz, because she can put on the bracelet. And then connect to the spirit of Curtis Hanson and beyond. And then Rachel Weisz can direct.
I think we just wrote a movie.
Yeah.
A very shitty movie.
Production starts tomorrow. I hear.
All right. We got a hit.
Production starts tomorrow, probably.
Sherlock Holmes and Dracula are the two most depicted characters in film. Now, this has made it as a declarative statement. I haven't checked it, but I wonder if that's true. I guess that's probably true.
Could be. I know that Abraham Lincoln is up there too.
Mm-hmm. So is Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
Interesting. So anyway, they're the two most depicted characters in film. Who are your favorite actors to take on these roles? And who would you cast if you had complete control?
Well, Sherlock Holmes, I haven't watched a ton of different versions of Sherlock Holmes or anything, so I've missed the Ian McKellen one. I missed...
Oh, is that Mr. Holmes?
That's
The one
Mr.
that came out
Holmes.
recently?
And I haven't seen like the offshoot like Elementary that's got Johnny Lee Miller in it.
That's actually pretty good.
A lot of people say they love that show.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any of the offshoot stuff. I've seen a couple of different film versions. So you have Robert Downey Jr. I've seen, he's okay, and I've seen the old Hound of the Baskervilles, which has Basil Rathbone playing Sherlock Holmes, and of course they're all good in their way. I mean, the one that's just the most fun to watch is Benedict Cumberbatch.
He's so great. He's so awesome.
Yeah, and so I hate to be just to say that same thing that every other fucking person in the world's gonna say, but he's really the best one that I've seen that has that mix of humor, and and some more of an enigma than any of the Sherlock Holmes that we've seen.
He's less, he's less. I don't know. He's less stodgy, I guess. He's more acerbic. And, it actually is a compliment, even more of a compliment to him because of all his history on this character that he can make it completely his own. I think anybody under 40 or around 40 would probably point to him as like the definitive one. Maybe some people, Robert Downey Jr., but I think he's really elevated that character, and so is Martin Freeman as Watson too.
Yeah, and there's plenty of others out there that I can't remember them as well as the others. Like remember the young Sherlock Holmes?
I love the young Sherlock Holmes.
All that. That was a thing back in the day, but I didn't watch it very often or whatever. So, as far as Dracula, it is kind of hard to beat Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
And Gary Oldman. Both of them have different takes on that character and everything. And I'm sorry for a lot of you film nerds out there, but I haven't seen any of the Christopher Lee Hammer films where he played Dracula. But it's kind of hard to beat Bela Lugosi, who sort of started it all and everything. So as far as who I would cast in these roles, I'm gonna do the switcheroo here and put Idris Elba as Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I
think
that.
I think he could do it. Now, Idris Elba is sort of one thing that grates me about coming up with Idris Elba is that every time we try to come up with a different race for a character or whatever, he is always the guy that we go to. But he's so good. That's the reason why and everything. And I think he would be a brilliant Sherlock Holmes. And it does keep it, British and everything.
Yeah, keep it British. Gotta keep it British.
That's right.
Stay calm and keep it British.
That's right. So I think he would be awesome. And as Dracula, I'm going to go with Christoph Waltz.
Oh,
that's great.
That's a good pick.
Christoph Waltz would be able to pull that shit off.
Yeah, he would fuck some shit up.
Yeah,
right
he
there.
would.
Fuck some shit up.
I'd like to see a German Dracula.
Yeah. I mean,
Close to Romanian.
I was sitting there going through all these actors, and a lot of the ones that a lot of popular actors that you could come up with just wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You had I was sitting there thinking, what, George Clooney. Well, you made George Clooney Dracula. You wouldn't be able to stop laughing the whole thing. Tom Hanks. None of that makes any sense. Christoph Waltz has that that manner about him that he could pull off Dracula very well.
I like that.
When I was a kid, I used to watch the crap out of this movie called Without a Clue. And it was one of the first subversive takes on the Sherlock Holmes saga and myth. And the conceit of it was Ben Kingsley as Dr. Watson, and it was Michael Caine as Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. The conceit was that Dr. Watson actually came up with Sherlock Holmes as a cover for himself.
Ooh.
He was the guy, this brilliant guy solving all these crimes and the hyper-perception and stuff like that. And he was writing this stuff for a paper. And so when he got called to actually solve a real-life crime, he had to come up with a real life Holmes. And so he found this actor, somebody Kincaid, who was Michael Caine. And he said, I need you to play Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to solve this crime for you. And so it goes into all these. It's a comedy. It's hilarious. But Michael Caine as the titular Holmes is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And Ben Kingsley's hilarious as Watson, too, as being this guy behind the scenes that cannot get recognition. He eventually says, no, I'm Holmes. No, I'm doing all this shit. And nobody believes him. So it's great. That's my favorite depiction of Holmes outside of Benedict Cumberbatch. And then with Dracula, Chris mentioned it before, Gary Oldman. It's a silly movie, this Bram Stoker's Dracula. It was Francis Ford Coppola did it with Winona Ryder and Canoe. And Gary Oldman is very good in this, though. He's magnetic and he's scary. He does this thing where he's like, I am Dracula. Yeah. And it's ornate and everything. He's really, really great. So the people that I would cast just really for laughs, I think Jesse Eisenberg would be a good Sherlock Holmes.
Interesting.
Witty, sharp, fast.
Yeah.
Almost
cocky.
Insular. I don't mean to be like, on the autistic side of things, but like very, very hyper focused on details. You could see that sort of character. And I think he'd be good. I don't know who would play Watson, but for Dracula, I'd love to see Danny Trejo try to play Dracula.
Jesus.
Nice.
What does it say that it's gotten to a point where if I'm flipping on my channels and Danny Trejo is one of the top built names on a movie, I'll just keep going. He made that Badasses on the Bayou and Machete Kills,
right.
And it made a lot of choices lately that I don't really want to go into his world. I like him as a bit player in the Tarantino world.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Some actors are better to be that, oh, I'm glad he's in here for 5 minutes. So, that type of, to have a whole movie around him. That's a whole different subsection of movie fan right there.
We could do a Dracula directed by Robert Rodriguez, starring Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
He could be the Mexican Dracula.
Stop giving him ideas, man. I
well,
could read that tomorrow.
I mean,
it's essentially From Dusk Till Dawn. He was a vampire in that.
What was he a vampire?
He was.
Was he? Trying to remember what he
was the bartender.
He was the bartender.
Yeah, because he's like, whiskey. And he looks at him, pours a shot of whiskey, knocks it back, is like, you, go that away.
Okay.
You're not welcome here.
I think I was getting that in Desperado confused.
Oh, yeah.
I think in Desperado he plays.
He's definitely a vampire in Desperado.
In Desperado, for sure.
Oh, have you done them both?
Yep.
All right. Well, I was not prepared for the first half of this question because I misunderstood it, so I'm going to go with a couple of silly answers.
All right.
Who played Dracula in Dracula Dead and Loving It?
Leslie Nielsen.
I'll go with him. He's my favorite Dracula. My favorite Holmes, I'm going to totally cheat and say Data from Star Trek The Next Generation on the episode Ship in a Bottle, where he goes into the holodeck with Geordi because he dressed up like Sherlock Holmes and he's going to play Sherlock Holmes, and he's going up against Moriarty, the nemesis of Sherlock Holmes. Only in the episode, Moriarty sees somebody exit through the holodeck door, and then the door disappears and starts to realize he's in a fictional reality. It eventually takes over control of the entire ship and wants to be set free from the holodeck to go live a life because he's become sentient, basically. And the way they ended up solving that is they let him out, him and his girlfriend from the holodeck, into the universe, but they tricked him, and he just walked into another holodeck where they had set up a whole universe for him to think he was escaped. He went to live a happy life. And Sherlock Holmes is barely even part of that story. It's just Data's dressed like him and pretending to be him for a while. So I really should do better reading when I prepare for these. But I got stuff for the next. All right. So for my fantasy casting, I want to cast Dominic West from The Wire and that adultery show on Showtime. The Affair. And
they should change it to that adultery show.
I love how every movie and TV show with adultery in it becomes an adultery movie. Or like The English Patient becomes that adultery movie.
Bridges of Madison County. Okay, so Dominic West, fantastic actor.
Yeah.
This will let him slip back into his natural English accent as Sherlock Holmes. And then just for the sake of reunion, I want to bring Wendell Pierce over from The Wire.
Nice.
And play Buck to play his Watson. And
Nice.
that actor will probably have to work on his English accent. By the way, did you know that he's an author? I was flipping through. When we were in the airport, I was looking for a book. We were in the bookstore, and I saw such and such by Wendell Pierce. And I was like, Wendell Pierce, the actor? Flipped it up, looked through it. He's an author. He's written several books.
Huh.
I had no idea. For Dracula, I went a little younger, and I would like to see what Ben Foster could do with the role. Because
Yeah.
that's good.
Ben Foster has proven to me he can do terrifying.
Absolutely.
And you set him in a iconic character like that. I think he could kick some bat ass. Wait a minute. Vampires are friends with bats. He'd kick some Van Helsing ass.
The royal we, man. The editorial.
All right, and I did not write this question, by the way. If you were given the chance to direct a music video, what artist or band would you choose to work with, and what style of song would you choose for them to perform?
All right. I'm going to go with Taylor Swift.
Nice.
Whoa.
Nice.
Now I'm going to tell you why Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
You may hate Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people listening to this may hate her.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I blame you on that. I love Taylor Swift. By
Yeah,
the
me
way.
too.
Me too.
But I can totally see why you would hate her. Anyway, one thing you cannot deny is that she is game for just about anything.
Yeah.
She, she'll do that commercial where she's, running on the treadmill and the treadmill throws her off. And all of her music videos, especially stuff like Bad Blood, is all like real fun type stuff. I feel like I could go and give her this like crazy idea and she'd be like, hell yeah, let's do that shit. And that's who I want to work with. Somebody who says, hell yeah, let's do that shit.
As long as she can dramatically look at the camera during that music video.
That's correct. That's
Man,
correct.
I am totally Team Taylor in this Katy Perry, Taylor Swift
Oh, yeah,
feud.
me too.
Katy Perry just won't shut up about it.
I didn't know there was a feud.
Like 5 years ago, Taylor gave an interview where she talked about she thought this other singer in the industry who was very popular liked her, but she could never tell. And then she never named her. And then that singer tried to steal a lot of her backup dancers for her tour, and apparently did. Never named Katy Perry, but it was basically just decided by everybody that it was Katy Perry she was talking about, and that Bad Blood was written about Katy Perry. Katy Perry has brought it up 5 times in the last calendar year in tweets and interviews. And she just gave another interview on television on the Late Late Show with James Cordray or whatever, where she said, I think it's time if she wants to apologize and we can bury the hat. I'm just like, shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah.
She wrote a diss track, essentially.
Well, and she did that after criticizing Taylor for writing Bad Blood about their feud.
Yeah, exactly.
Now she's turned around and done the same thing. Like, I like Katy Perry. She's super hot. I like her music. In this particular debate, there is no question who is taking the high road, and it's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and she wrote a much more inferior song, too. That Swish Swish song with Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
It's nothing compared to Bad Blood, man. Bad Blood is a fucking awesome track. And it has Kendrick Lamar on that song, man.
And it was covered by Ryan Adams. Actually, every single song on that album was covered by Ryan Adams.
Such a great album.
But I would want to do something in the vein of that. So something kind of rocking, like I guess pop rock in a way. I would do as far as genre is concerned. So
she does great videos.
Tay-Tay.
That's a good pick.
That's a good pick.
Yep.
I'm going Timberlake, baby.
Yeah.
My man
nice.
crush is not a secret. And it's not sexual.
That's right.
But I want to be his friend.
Uh-huh.
I want to hang around him. So I have to answer him. Now, it's funny to me that you brought up Chris Stapleton a little earlier, because when Timberlake came to town for the CMAs and duetted with Stapleton, I still watch that 2-song video probably every month.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They both are just singing so well in that song. Timberlake, especially when he hits that dissonant note and it cuts back to Keith Urban, he's like, "Ooh, that's good shit." So I would put Timberlake in a country setting. I want to have him do a country song that would be up tempo, and then the video could just be him tweaking all the cliches from country music and having fun with them. That's what I'd do. But mostly I'd just get to spend a couple days with Timberlake. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He does some really like high concept videos, like even starting out with Crimea River.
Yeah.
That was like
Britney Body Double.
Yeah, it was the Britney Body Double and everything, but it was really, really well done. The song is excellent, but then just the way that he's creepily stalking up, and then it goes into that weird supernatural thing where he's walking on walls and all that stuff, like Crouching Tiger and Timberlake.
He seems like another one of those up for anything kind of like the kind of guy that would say,
definitely.
let's do that shit.
Yeah. If he's doing Bring It On Down to Omeleteville.
Bring it on down to Omeleteville.
There's something about both Taylor Swift and Justin Timberlake that just basically says, I mean, I think even if I hated their music, I would want to work with them.
Yeah.
That's one of those, that's how, great of personalities they are and everything. Like, I don't really like your music, but you know what? I bet you would be really good about collaborating on something creative like this, and you'd be cool and everything. And yeah, hanging out with those guys would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
She's a little bit younger, but they'll probably be looked at as like the big wigs of this generation. You know?
I think deservedly so, right?
He'll be in the conversation like Frank Sinatra that we were talking about last week.
He's on track to be Prince
or
Bowie. And nobody is a bigger superstar in the world than Taylor Swift in the world of music, and nobody is more on their game in terms of their brand and their message. And she writes all her own songs, plays an instrument. You know, we've moved on from that Britney, Christina, Mandy Moore era where it was just pretty girls who cooed something that somebody else wrote and they didn't know where F was on a piano. I don't know why I chose F of all the notes.
That's my third favorite note.
Glad I chose a real note. Otherwise, that would be embarrassing.
Where's the H?
Yeah.
And so, I think you give them both maybe another 5-10 years with another 2-3 albums each. And they'll be at an iconic level that few ever reach.
Yeah.
Like he could be Michael Jackson level if he keeps going.
Yeah.
Because he's that talented. He's multi-instrumental. He writes music. He can sing. He can act. And I think he's got that brain for producing, which is why when he left NSYNC, he was the one that broke out as a success. I think we can watch One Direction today. Boy, am I derailing. Because One Direction is now, I think every single member has released solo music at this point, right?
Besides Louis.
4 of the 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So which one is still around in 10 years as an artist is probably going to be the one that can play instruments, write their own songs, and can produce, and not just sing.
Yeah. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I called Timberlake's success way back in 2000 or so when he was just about to leave NSYNC. I said, that guy's going to be the next Michael Jackson.
He could be. I mean, I'm impressed that you called that, but
and I think Harry Styles is going to get there too.
You think?
Not to that level, but I think he's got the talent to really, ascend much higher than a regular pop star.
Well, we'll see. I'm curious about Dunkirk to see, because I have to believe he was cast because he was good and not to put teenage girls' butts in the seats of your movie. Nolan doesn't think like that. So I'm very excited to see what he does.
I'm going to go full kind of music geek on you and pick Vampire Weekend for my artist to work with.
It's a good band.
If you ever listen to Vampire Weekend, if you haven't listened to them, go out and listen to them because they're accessible, they're interesting. The lead singer's Ezra Koenig is his name, has one of the most pure voices that you've ever heard. And they've got a really good variety of music. Some of it's really up tempo, some of it's very slow building and epic. And it's the latter part that I want to work with. There's a song called Hannah Hunt, and this album now has been around forever, Modern Vampires of the City. And it's got this wonderful build to it. And the end of it is there's just this plaintive wail. And it's terrific. It doesn't have a music video. A lot of theirs does. A lot of theirs do. The hell. So I'd like to direct that, man, and do like a really nice, like huge epic type of sweeping landscape in the vein of Oasis's "Do You Know What I Mean" video, which is one of my favorite videos of all time. I think that would totally work.
That's awesome. Good pick.
Absolutely.
I like
of the 4 people who know who Vampire Weekend are.
I think they're pretty popular.
I think they've got a bigger base than that.
You think?
I think so.
I know they have a decent base, but I thought it was mostly like hipsters and.
Yeah, I imagine it is probably mostly hipsters, but there's a lot of mainstream people who know Vampire Weekend.
Thank God, they're so good, man.
Yeah,
I love their shit.
And Paul Simon inspired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. What's the best thing that ends up really being a character all its own in a movie? An example is The Ring in Lord of the Rings.
Funny that I'm going to pick the Nothing as
Yes.
my thing as a
Yes.
character in the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
We never see the Nothing because it's nothing. Sure.
You just spoiled the movie, goddammit.
But it's always there. It's always a threat. It is embodied by Gamork, the wolf-like character or whatever. He's a messenger of the Nothing who's trying to kill Atreyu, but all the while he's on this quest, there's this Nothing that's coming in and like destroying parts of the world.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, early 80s where nobody gave a fuck about what the kids saw. But it's a character, that you like, you never see it. You never hear like its demands, it just wants to destroy everything in its wake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pick.
Nice. Good pick.
Nice. What do you think?
I'm going to give 2. The City of Boston and Gone Baby Gone. I could have also said The City of Boston in The Town.
Mm-hmm.
Both Ben Affleck films, who's from Boston, so his love of Boston comes through. I bet he's not even doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But in Gone Baby Gone, especially all those neighborhood shots with the voiceover talking about the city coming together and whatnot. It's just, I think it becomes a character much the way, Baltimore does in The Wire, or so you were talking to somebody on SoundCloud about this, or the Treme in New Orleans. David Simon's really good about making a city a character. And the other one I'll give you is the weather / rain in the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Where it's so much more oppressive than weather in movies usually is.
I don't know what it is, man. It's the way Fincher shoots it, or everything just looks drenched and dour and like. And then there's something else added to all that when you see Brad Pitt's like hand all bandaged up because he had to slide down that like ladder or whatever, and in that rain, that rainy scene and everything.
He actually broke his hand in real life, running across the street, going over one of those cabs. He broke his hand, and so they had to write in the injury into the film to explain why he's got his hand all bandaged up for the rest of the movie.
Right.
Where does that ever come out and say where it's set?
No.
That's another beautiful thing about it.
Very purposefully doesn't. If you recall, this movie is set in a big city, and it looks like New York, but it's close to a desert.
Oh yeah.
Because they have to go out and all that. It's very interesting how the geography of that is very fictional, or like they're trying to make it every city, or whatever. But that's a good one. The rain, in Seven. It's the thing that you think about, like one of the first things you think about after you think about the basic things of Seven is that rain, all that rain.
Yeah, I like the weather aspect of this, like the cold in Fargo.
Oh, nice.
Is a thing. I'll go back to actually we were talking about this on a movie recipes thing. It's the heat and cool hand loop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris brought it up in the filming where, and I didn't think about it. The heat is oppressive. Just overall, you see when they're working out on the line, they're threshing everything. They have to take their clothes off and all that stuff. But when Newman goes into the hole, and when he gets punished, unfairly so, and just has to endure what you could imagine is unimaginable heat in the middle of summer, that makes it just like 10 times more effective.
And the hole is like something that basically conducts heat. So like, he's probably like, he probably can't really lie down or anything like that.
Oh no, yeah.
Because the actual surface that he's on is probably baking hot. I just can't even imagine. Like, they do a really good job of that. They could have shot that in 30-degree weather and still made it look like hot, but it looks freaking hot.
Oh my God.
Good
crazy.
call.
All right. That'll do it for this week. Keep going to SoundCloud, giving us your thoughts.
Hey, let us know what's going on. We want to communicate with you. We'll talk to you on SoundCloud. Email us if you want to, tweet us, all that stuff. We will try to keep in touch as much as possible, man. Love hearing your feedback.
Click, click, boom.
That's right. Who was that? Was that POD?
No, that was Saliva.
Same band.
Pretty much.
Anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
All right, who else has something to say? Wolfman's got nards.
That's right. What? Monster Squad? Is that what it is?
so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely Monster Squad. Wolfman don't have nards.
So it was Johnny Depp is playing the Invisible Man, isn't he?
Oh, maybe.
Because they released
Does he
like a
have to show
picture
up?
of Tom Cruise. Yeah, maybe. He just cashed the check.
Yeah.
We cast Johnny Depp, but it's all CG. He doesn't even have any lines. We're still paying him $50 million.
You're going to bring Chevy Chase back to play Memoirs of Invisible?
I prefer.
I want my molecules back!
What's funny is in that picture, it's got Russell Crowe, Javier Bardem, Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, and then this woman.
This lady
who nobody knows.
No, she's in something.
Paula Wagner? Is it his
No,
production?
it's
I've seen her before.
she's the Bride of Frankenstein, right?
I've seen her before.
Oh, Javier Bardem is going to be Frankenstein's monster.
Oh yeah, and so Sophia Botella is the actual mummy in this. Sophia,
Who's got the weird eyes?
Who's the Blade chick in Kingsman?
Fuck you, not you. That what? Fuck.
That scared me. I thought there was a little girl in the next room.
Oh my god! Then my secret would be out.
Damn it!
Chris has managed to keep a daughter hidden from us
That's
for
right.
8 years.
Yeah, you don't know, guys. When we did that one podcast in the closet, I had to find another place to put her. Annabelle Wallace is I believe, the main chick that's in it. And she was in, what was the recent thing? She was in King Arthur, which, of course, nobody saw. She's in Annabelle. She's in Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. They look real peaky.
Yep. Anyway.
I've never seen that show.
I haven't either. But Sophia Botella was in Kingsman. She was the Blade chick, and she was also the makeup chick in Star Wars Trek Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever her name was in that.
Oh, Jai?
Jayla.
Jayla. Yes.
Jai.
If you want my loving, I gave you all my trust. We're still doing 3 free snacks.
Three free snacks.
Three free
snacks.
Three sneef racks. That movie's complete garbage. And the IMDb has it at 6.5, which I think is pretty high for a movie that being that terrible. I mean, yeah, I can understand people just kind of forgiving it. It's like, it's the Mummy, it's Brendan Fraser, he's so fun in that, and blah blah blah. But like, that movie's just makes no sense whatsoever.
It's terrible.
The first one's at least enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, the first one I actually sat there and watched it and was like, I can kind of dig this. Yeah. But the second one is just awful because the story is about, okay, so they have to, there's the Scorpion King. Mm-hmm. And he apparently wakes up every 5,000 years is what they said, but he only just got buried or whatever. He just went down into the underworld 5,000 years ago. So there's not like a basis of fact.
This is the first time he wakes up.
This would be the first time he wakes up. So there's a casual. He wakes up every 5,000 years.
If we were to wait another 5,000.
And then like so the plan is they're going, because he wakes up and because he has this big army and everything, and I still don't, and that was another thing. I don't understand why he's allowed to wake up, because he sells his soul to this Anubis god or whatever so that he can conquer his enemies. Mm-hmm. And so Anubis wakes up and Anubis gives him all these abilities and gives him this army, so he vanquishes his enemies. As soon as he's done with vanquishing his enemies, he takes him down to the underworld. So why would you let him come out 5,000 years later? What's the purpose of that? And then so the plan of the bad guys in this is that because the Scorpion King is going to arise, they need to resurrect Imhotep.
Yeah.
Because they've got his old girlfriend reincarnated with them, because as one has.
Yeah.
So they're going to resurrect Imhotep so that he can conquer the Scorpion King and they can take the army. And there's like a bracelet that so the very beginning is Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. They find the Scorpion King bracelet, and like she starts having flashbacks because she's somebody reincarnated from like way back when.
Yep.
And they find the Scorpion King bracelet because she remembers all this shit. And then, of course, they do this whole thing. Well, there's a destination type thing going on here where, you only found that bracelet because you were meant to find it and all this bullshit. And so, like, I was like, so sitting there going, wait a minute, does the Scorpion King arrive? As soon as they get the bracelet, like all this stuff rumbles and all this other shit. I was like, so does the Scorpion King arise because you got the bracelet, or is it because it's 5,000 years and it's time for him? It
just happens to be, it's coincidentally
right.
the time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it's every 5,000 years someone finds the bracelet.
Oh.
Therefore, he wakes up. I don't know.
I don't know either. The movie doesn't know. And so yeah, they decided, okay, well, we definitely need to resurrect Imhotep because he'll be able to beat him. And
bring back the classics, play the hits.
Yeah, right. And
it's basically the Demolition Man plot.
You remember it's like Bad Santa. So then what is it? What else in there that just didn't make any sense? So of course, their stupid kid that they've had, Rachel.
Yeah, that kid's a dumbass.
Yeah, the stupid kid that they have opens up the chest and the bracelet. He starts wearing the bracelet, and the bracelet shows you these places where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to these places, and it'll lead you to the Scorpion King or whatever. So they start just making up some fucking rules after this. They just like he's like, oh, he'll die in 7 days if he doesn't get to the place in time. And I was like, okay, all right. And then
it's also the ring.
It is also the ring. But I was watching this movie and I was like, okay, so they got the Scorpion bracelet showing you where you go next. And you go to this one place and that place tells you where to go next. And then the next place tells you where to go next, and so on and so forth. And finally you reach it. And I'm sitting there going, why would one even want to take this journey? Because all you're doing, I mean, yeah, maybe, do you want the Scorpion King to arise and just have his have his army come out? Is that your end game?
That's what happens when they make it to that destination?
Yes. Oh. Well, no. Actually, no, they keep inventing shit that happens because you'd think, just being there would be enough, right? So they get the kid there, finally, like just in time before the sunset comes and all that bullshit. They get him there and the bracelet comes off and the kid throws it like just I don't know what that's supposed to do. He throws it somewhere and it's like, yeah, I got rid of that. And then some asshole comes up out of nowhere and he's like, oh, the bracelet's here. I'll put that shit on. And then he goes down into some other area of the temple and he sticks his arm in this thing. And that's what calls the army out.
Wow.
And I was like, so if your purpose is to come out here and to find the Scorpion King and everything, you have to figure out it. First off, it tears the bracelet off of your wrist. And then you have to go, well, shit, I just got to put that back on. It just nothing. And that's why there was so much stuff that I was writing on this, because the rules are ill-defined. Mm-hmm. The whole, why would you even go through all of this? That doesn't make any sense. Like there's no treasure at the end of this. You're just calling up some dude who's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And the when he is resurrected, the rock or whatever, he's now an official scorpion when he comes out. Oh my God, the CGI. Oh my God.
Oh, I remember this.
The
I remember how bad
CGI
this is.
is so bad. Oh my God, he's like a video game character.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it's like you really like you're playing Doom or something.
Which he would later go on.
He
to
would
star.
later go on to star in Doom. But yeah, there's stuff that just makes no sense, man. And the dude that like sticks his arm in the thing and the army arises and everything. The army arises. The army arises in this one patch of desert where the Magi are sitting there waiting for them. I'm like, why are they? Did they know they were going to have to fight the Magi? Is that why they appeared right here in front of them? Or why aren't they like appearing in front of the pyramid? Like if you stuck your arm, of course, dude sticks his arm in there, the army arises and something eats his entire hand off and it's just like bone there.
Nice.
And I'm like, that's even more reason not to do all this shit.
I'll tell you what, a hand is a small price to pay to raise a Scorpion King from
That's
the
true.
dead.
That's right.
I mean, if all things considered, that guy should be dead.
Yeah, and of course, you know, they resurrect Imhotep. They think this is an actual good idea. They resurrect him. First off, in the last movie, he's not even immortal anymore. They took his immortal soul away. So he suddenly like can still do all the same shit and he's still immortal. And I'm like, no, you took his soul. As I said,
in between
they parallaxed it.
Yeah, as said in the first one, it looks like Santa in a sleigh or whatever takes his soul back to the underworld because it looks like a bunch of fucking reindeer. I think they're horses, but it feels like a Santa Claus movie, and so after they take the soul in the first one, they're just able to stab his ass, and he's dead. And now they resurrect him. He can get the powers back. That's bullshit.
That is some bullshit.
Do you think it's worse than what the new Mummy is going to be? The new Mummy looks pretty bad.
New Mummy looks bad. What about the one with Jet Li?
Oh, the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor or whatever. I was shocked to find out that came out 9 years ago. I thought that feels like not long enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, I don't even remember that coming out. Like, I don't think it did well.
No, I don't think. It's got Brendan Fraser in it too, though,
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
It does have Brendan Fraser.
Does it really?
What kills me also, I was like, who directed this shit? It was Rob Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Cohen has directed 3 movies with the word dragon in the title. And I don't know if it's a thing or if it's a coincidence. He's done Dragonheart and he's done Dragon the Bruce Lee story.
Oh.
And he's done The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. But I don't know if he's a
Triple X Dragon.
That's right. That's right. And and Fast and the Furious, Dragon 7 or whatever.
Dragon Drift.
Yeah, Dragon Drift.